Hiring an acquisition manager, that's the most time consuming and what I believe to be the most important part of the business. To take that time consuming part of the business off of your plate allows you to do other things in the business to help grow and scale. When you start out in real estate, most of the time you're starting out by yourself. You're a one-man band, you're pulling down the data, you're making the calls, you're setting up the direct mail to go out, you're doing everything on your own. So you're doing the phone calls, negotiating, you're doing the acquisitions, so you're negotiating with a seller to buy the property, you're probably doing the sales side of it as well, the disposition side of it. And so you're doing everything, wearing all the different hats as a one-man band, a solopreneur, as we call them. And then as you start to see some scale and you're ready to build your business and you've decided, hey, I want to do this on a bigger scale, I want to be a full-time investor, I want to look at adding more deals and really ramping up this business, I think the most important thing to hire, your first hire, should be an acquisition manager. And the reason is because that's the most time-consuming part of the business. It's really the key to success in this business is finding off-market properties, finding properties that you can buy at the right price, and being able to negotiate with sellers. Because anytime you go to a new seller's property and you look at the property and you make them an offer, 99% of the time, they're not going to accept the offer. So you have to learn how to negotiate. You have to learn how to figure out what their pain point is. Why do they want to sell the property? What's their motivation for selling? How quickly do they want to sell? And so there's a sales process that you go through, and we obviously train that sales process, but you want to come up with a sales process. You want to learn a sales process that you go through time and time and time and time again. And once you've done that on your own and you know that sales process, you know what works in your business, now you want to hire an acquisition manager and train that person that exact same sales process. So you're multiplying your efforts at that point. Instead of you having to go to every house, negotiate with every seller, and try to get a property under contract, you have someone else who's taken that burden off your plate. So they're going out and negotiating with the seller. They're going out and looking at the houses. They're going on the appointments. They're taking the incoming calls if the calls are coming in, talking to the people, getting the information on the property. And then that acquisition manager is taking that responsibility off your plate. Once they get the property under contract, then you can do the dispo, you can do the sales side of it, you can do the other things. So the first hire would be an acquisition manager. In our business, that's how we started and how we grew. And then I would start on the front end, and I would handle the marketing side. So I would handle the getting the data, buying the data, having it skip trace, sending it to our third-party direct mail company or our third-party texting platform or cold calling platform. And I would have all those calls coming into my acquisition manager. And then my acquisition manager would take those phone calls. They would get the information on the property. They would schedule an appointment to go see the property. They would go out and negotiate and get a signed contract with the seller. And then once they got a signed contract, it would come back to me. And then I would send it over to the attorneys to get ready for the closing. I would handle the dispo side of it, the sales side of it. So I would send it out to our buyers list or decide if we're going to put it on the MLS. So hiring an acquisition manager, that's the most time consuming and what I believe to be the most important part of the business. And so hiring that person and getting a really solid A player who's a great negotiator, great people person, and training them on that sales process and getting them out there to take that time consuming part of the business off of your plate allows you to do other things in the business to help grow and scale.